this might be weird, but or I guess out of left field, but I actually found out about you originally. I was in the UFC for a while. I'd already fought for quite some time, and I was watching the show World of Jinx on MTV.
Yeah,
And they had this
yeah,
episode coming up about fighting, and I was, anything that was about fighting and on TV and like helping bring the sport mainstream, I was excited about. And I was like, oh shit, he's gonna do this thing on fighting. And he was, Anthony was doing all this crazy stuff, and it featured you. And so that was the first time I got to like know you and see your story. And then you had the obviously the big fight coming up and stuff. So what was that experience like, and how did you get on that show? Like, how did you get casted to be, or I guess accepted to be the fighter of that program?
yeah. I think it was Sean Shelby. Dave Scheller at the time was doing WC. They reached out and they're like, hey, MTV's interested in doing a documentary on one of our fighters. They picked me, Uriah Faber. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that sent in tapes, like the promo tape. So I did my little 5 minute tape, sent it in, and then I get a call from Andrew Jenks, and he's like, "Yeah, we chose you. We wanted to follow you around, and we want to see what the life of a fighter is."
Yeah,
And I was coming off of a loss, so it was kind of weird because it was like my first loss ever against
yeah,
Bart Pelashevsky.
yep.
All of a sudden, MTV's coming, and I didn't even know what the heck was going to happen. So they show up with a big camera crew. Like there's like a two camera guys, Andrew Jenks, the two audio guys, and then like the director. So it's a nice sized crew. And they followed me around for like 10 days before the fight. But it just made me more ready to go. Like I
Yeah,
just
of
wanted,
course.
obviously the world was gonna be watching twice. So I was like, I can't lose on on television in WC and lose on MTV. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a lot on the line, man. So I went in there with just I know what I had to do. I was Danny Castillo, a wrestler, but he likes to throw his hands. Duke called the play out. I took the play and boom, high kick knockout, and
That's
it was
crazy.
beautiful. I was like, I get these big moments, like even the Showtime kick, Ben Henderson. I get these big moments that just help my career just go skyrocket.
Well, first of all, I mean, that was what got me to know you, and I became a big fan, man. I followed you ever since. So when you went on to win those big fights, it was cool because I had seen you, originally on this show, and you were kind of like in a desperate situation. It seemed like you had to win this fight, and you were just trying to make it. And I could
Yeah,
totally relate to that, man. I had already went through those times, and like and had a similar situation because. I was fighting in the WEC, and Dana White himself came to one of my last WEC fights, and he was looking to recruit me and Mike Kyle at that fight. And that was when I
yeah,
fought for the championship at WEC, and I fought Chris Lieben. So I mean, it was knocked out, but I got TKO'd. I wasn't like out, but like I got TKO'd
yeah,
right in front of Dana White, like literally, like he was front row. I got TKO'd, and then right after that was when the Ultimate Fighter started casting. So I was in the same boat of like, this
yeah,
is why
yeah,
you never know when the chances come and why you never give up and think that there's no hope. I'm sitting there coming off a loss right in front of Dana White, like a pretty devastating, obviously, TKO, my first big loss, my first loss at all. And then they started casting for the Ultimate Fighter, which I didn't even apply for. I wasn't even like, I'm like, come on, like, he just saw me get beat, like there's no way he wants me on the show. And I was one of the last people to get casted because they kept asking for AKA guys to send tapes in, and I did. They ended up flying me to Vegas. I did the casting process, and then I ended up on the Ultimate Fighter. Then I go in the Ultimate
yeah,
Fighter,
man.
the big opportunity, right? And I had to take light heavyweight because that was the only thing available because I couldn't do middleweight. So I was like the smallest light heavyweight. I went on the show and was ready to fight. I was hungry. I trained so hard every day. I wasn't getting into bullshit. I was like focused as more just as much as anyone else. And then I fought Stephan Bonner in one of the last fights, a semifinal fight, and then he armbarred me from a triangle. So now I got TKO'd in front of Dana White to get on the Ultimate Fighter. Then I lost on the Ultimate Fighter, and then I still got my UFC opportunity after that, and then went on a tear all the way to title contention fight with Yushin Okami after winning 5-0. So it's like you never know, man. Like people they get down on their luck after they lose a fight or they have a bad performance, and like you said in your situation too, you just never know, man. You got to show up every time and fight, and then just keep that positive attitude, and things can just happen because. I would have never thought I would have gotten the UFC and then went on a tear in the UFC off two losses like that, especially right in front of them. But it happened that way, and I think a lot of times things happen like that. So it's cool, man, to see stuff like this position that you were in, and then you go on to become the champion. Then you go on to have all these crazy kicks and highlights, and then go in the UFC and then become a champion there as well. So that's really cool, man.
Appreciate it, bro. Yeah.